Hey guys and gals, hopefully you enjoyed today's show. We got the one and only Captain Glyn Austin in this morning. We're talking about saltwater downsizing of your baits, especially in these colder temperatures. And that's going to be a big key to you guys and gals catching more fish whenever you're getting out there in the saltwater, especially during these cooler months. So enjoy today's show. Well, good morning, East Central Florida, and welcome to another edition of Catch a Memory Outdoors right here on WWBC 1510 AM. We appreciate you tuning in every Saturday morning to see what's going on the radio. I'm Captain Jim Ross, and I'm going to be in here for the next 2 hours with you guys and gals, checking out what's going on up and down the Space Coast the past week and what we expect to come up in the next couple of weeks. For those of you guys and gals that are listening on the radio, good morning. Please drive safe out there. It's a little wet, a little misty. Hopefully you get to your location on time and intact. And then, of course, those of you that are out there on the Facebook feed, we appreciate you guys and gals tuning in as well. And for those of you that are watching, I'll get the light turned on here in just a little bit, and we'll have some better illumination on the subjects. Captain Glyn Austin's going to be in here shortly. He is rolling in here in just a couple of minutes, and that's going to be my guest for today. But if you guys and gals want to get involved with the show, we would love to hear from you. Give us a shout. 321-632-1000 is our call-in line. You can get us right here at the WWBC studio here in Cocoa, where it is 63 drippy degrees this morning. I'm not sure if it's mist, rain, humidity, or all of the above, but we do have a moist morning out there this morning. So hopefully you guys and gals are going to be driving safe and getting there on time and intact, because it is a little soupy out there this morning. Like I said, Captain Glyn Austin was joining me this morning, and Glyn has just gotten in here. Good morning, buddy. How's things going today?
Things going well.
So, soupy.
Yeah, it is soupy.
It's interesting. I rolled out this morning, and I wasn't anticipating that much moisture in the air.
No.
Did you hit any sprinkles or rain on the way up?
No, just slight mist, but no
Little
real
mist,
rain.
yeah.
No real rain. It was just like heavy, like you just said, moist.
It's definitely moist.
The air's
out there.
thick. The air is thick.
And the seas aren't happy.
No.
What happened to yesterday afternoon? I looked at the beach surf cam yesterday afternoon, and it looked like it was 1 foot at about 6 seconds, And I was like, oh, my goodness. This is perfect. Look at this. I mean, it was slick, calm right there at sunset. And I was thinking to myself, man, today would be a fantastic day to get out on the water. And I woke up this morning and I turned on the VHF radio to listen to the NOAA report. And it's 3 foot at 5 seconds. And I'm like, whoa, what happened overnight? You know?
That's the way it's been lately,
So,
hasn't it? It's been like that a lot this winter.
A lot. You think it's going to be nice, and it's just not. Hey, wanted to throw a big shout out. Went to one of the fellas that works over at Sunrise Marina, Adam Durr, had his 40th birthday last night, and hung out with him for about an hour while he was over at the little pool hall, pool and putters and pools, or I don't know what it's called, something over here in Rockledge. Anyway, saw a bunch of the gang from Sunrise Marina. That was nice. Andrew Redwine and Tawny Redwine and nice. Jared Van Dyke and a bunch of guys from the store. They were over there celebrating with him, so that was kind of cool. Wanted to wish him a happy birthday because he is an avid outdoorsman, loves to hunt, loves to fish, and just a really cool guy. So big shout out to him. Hey, Glyn, you and I were kind of started a conversation yesterday about baits. And, this time of the year, obviously, we downsize and go to much smaller presentations than what we generally use throughout some of them work all year round. There's no doubt. Small baits work in the winter, small baits work in the spring, small baits work in the summer. They work year round, but in the wintertime in particular, we just have a tendency to downsize and slow down presentations. And you had mentioned that you had found a couple of new products that you were really high on. And I actually brought in a box for you of some things that I've been using lately.
Awesome.
And so I thought maybe we would talk a little bit about specific lures, specific presentations for specific species. If that's, I just thought that would be a good way to go about starting the day off.
Absolutely. Well, I like small baits year round.
Mm-hmm.
I throw that Little John for 100+ pound tarpon and caught a bunch on it. So that kind of that's kind of where I got started with the smaller baits. You know, I like paddle tails. I like the 3-inch DOA paddle tails. I like the 4-inch jerk baits they make. I mean, good durability. Just they work well. Then Rapala came out with these new baits and the Crush City, and of course they're designed for bass, but bass will eat them, snook will eat them, and everything. And they got that new what they call a little mooch minnow.
Okay.
It's a 3.5-inch bait, but if you look at that profile, it actually acts like a smaller bait.
So it's interesting. This looks very similar to the. So I use a lot of Assassin products, and this looks very similar to their Elite Shiner, what they call their Elite Shiner. Very similar to that, except the tail is different. That's interesting. So the tail isn't a paddle tail.
Nope.
It's like the paddle tail if you cut the sides off of it, even with the body. And then it has a little piece sticking out the back like a little keel or something.
I looked at it more as a jerk bait when I first saw it.
Yeah.
But then when you talk to the folks at Rapala, they call it's like a paddle tail. And the action in the water, this material is very similar to what they make
that super stretchy stuff.
Yeah, Z-Man stuff out of.
Yeah.
Super stretchy. So it's very limber. So the movement in the water is pretty incredible. When you watch this thing in the water, now the key is you don't want a big jig head with it. You got to use a small jig head.
Super lightweight, yeah.
Lightweight jig head. I mean, they make up to 1/4 3/8 ounce with a small hook, like a 2/0 hook or a 3/0 hook.
Mm-hmm.
You don't really want to go any bigger than a 3/0 hook. 2 is really
Yeah, I was going to say a
preferable with
1/0 or a 2/0 would be perfect in that bait.
Yep, and with that material, it's you got to find one that they stick in pretty good, and I found a couple of them, so they've worked very well for me. I mean, we've caught everything from snook to jacks to pompano to trout to you name it in the river on it. Haven't caught any redfish with it yet, but it's not really my time of year for redfish down there.
Right.
But we've caught I caught flounder with it, a little bit of everything already.
Interesting.
It's turned out to be a good bait. It's just just the way it works in the water, the action it has, that little tail with, like you said, it's like the tail's cut off. One of the guys from Rapala called it a paddle tail, but I wouldn't consider this a paddle tail. I'd consider it more of a jerk bait to me.
Yeah.
A small jerk.
And if you're steadily reeling it through the water, like you would a swim bait, a regular sea shad paddle tail type bait, how does it act?
It acts more like a paddle tail. That's why that guy was calling it a paddle tail.
Okay.
Now,
Because it does have a tail kick.
It does have a tail kick to it, and it's the profile is so slim towards the back. It doesn't need a big paddle tail like
right.
Say the Assassin or even the DOA baits.
Yeah.
Doesn't need it to get that action. And the smaller profile, I mean, everything eats glass minnows, man.
Oh, definitely.
This is a little bit bigger than a glass minnow, but it's been so far. I've only used
now
it for
they
about
designed this as a freshwater bait, so I'm assuming that they're using this as like a drop shot or a forward-facing sonar type of a little pitch bait or little minnow style bait.
But it's really a little on the small side to put any weedless hooks in it.
Okay.
So most of the guys are rigging it.
Yeah, you would have to go. You would have to go with about a 1/0 weedless offset worm hook.
Yeah,
that would be about the biggest you could put in.
That's pretty small from my experience bass fishing. I haven't done much bass fishing, but it's a little small for that.
For saltwater, it's fine.
Yeah,
I actually use both in the VMC line and in the X Point line. I use the wide bend weedless worm hooks from 1/0 to about 5/0 in size.
Yeah.
And with the VMC hooks, I use the thin wire hook, and then with the X Points, I use it's the thickest wire diameter model that they make, and I can't remember what the number on it is right now. But that particular one, you can catch some monster fish if you need to on that hook. It's super strong.
Yeah, Rappel's got a couple other jig heads. I brought the tungsten moon eye in just because I like the keeper on it.
Mm-hmm.
They have
Let me see that.
They call the slim jig.
Yeah,
it's got more of the.
It's just got little tiny barbs.
Yeah, and the slim jig's got more of a wire coming out the jig head with a bend in the wire to hold it on.
Mm-hmm.
Which that's the one I've used. I haven't used this one yet. But the barbs on it seem like it's going to hold it pretty good.
Well, and these are vanadium steel hooks, so they're even though they're thinner in diameter, they're still pretty darn strong.
Sure.
It takes a little bit to bend the wire to straighten the hook out.
In the other one that I use, that slimline jig head, it actually has 2-3 bends in it, so it's not a continuous bend like a standard hook.
It looks like a checkpoint.
Yeah, and it holds really well, really well.
Gotcha.
But so far we've done real well with the snook with it. The juvenile snook.
And you've got some of the small paddle tails, which
the Mayer's another one they came out
Mayer.
with. It's a completely different material. It's not the super stretchy material.
Yeah, this one has got some stretch, but it's more like an Assassin or a DOA.
Or a DOA, exactly.
That little 2.5 inch size is kind of nice.
Yeah, it's that's worked well for us as well.
So I don't remember what color this and this are, but over the grass, that greenback with a silver belly.
They call it sea shad, if I remember right,
or pilchard or something. That one is really good over grass.
Yes.
That one that has more of a natural / tan colored back, which I think they call sexy shad or something like that.
Sexy shad's one of them.
That one in the canals around the mangrove roots, that one works really well. That color works really well.
And I try not to carry too many colors because you can overwhelm yourself with colors.
I'm kind of shocked at your box here. And the reason is there's no pink in that box. I'm like, where's Glyn's pink? Because I know you throw a lot of pink.
The pink Mooch Minnow is not available yet. That's why it's not in there. So we went to chartreuse instead. You
can guarantee one thing. When you get on Glyn's boat pretty much year-round, but especially in the wintertime, you're going to see something pink tied on.
Yeah, for sure, man. We like pink. The pompano love pink. Trout love pink, and the tarpon love pink.
And the tarpon like pink too. It's surprising how the tarpon, where the snook will kind of key a little more on chartreuse, the tarpon key in on that pink. They sure do.
They love that pink.
That's for sure. Well, you know what, guys and gals, we're gonna we got a caller calling in on the line. We're gonna take our first break of the morning, but when we come back, Captain Glyn Austin, myself, Jim Ross, and sound like Captain Mike Mann might be on the radio or on the phone line. So we've got a caller calling in. We'll find out who it is here shortly. Don't go away. We're going to be right back with more Catch a Memory. Welcome back. We appreciate you tuning in every Saturday right here to Catch a Memory Outdoors. This segment of the show is brought to you by Sun State Pest Management. If you're looking for definitely to keep those bugs out of your house where they belong or don't belong, as the case may be, give Sun State a call. They're going to come over there. They're going to basically take care of all of the product that you need for the particular type of ant, bug, whatever it happens to be. They're going to put down the right product, and that way you don't have to do the guesswork. They're the professionals. Let them come check you out and see what you need, and then take care of your pest concerns. That's Sun State Pest Management, and they're real easy to get a hold of. Just give them a call over there at 800-781-7378. That's 1-800-781-7378.
33 years I've been using them.
Yeah. And unfortunately, Steve passed away here, just a little bit. In fact, his memorial's today from 1 to 4 at Kiwanis Island. For anybody interested, the owner of Sun State Pest Management, Steve Goff, is having a celebration of life at Kiwanis Island today from 1 to 4. So
good man.
Yep, he was. He was a great guy. Great guy. Sorely missed, that's for sure. That is for sure. Anyway, we're going to go to the phone lines and see what's going on the phone line. Good morning.
Fantastic.
I am doing really good, buddy. Doing really good. You're not the only one, brother. And wind at 25 knots.
Day before, where it was sprinkling rain and overcast all morning, but no wind. And I mean, we hammered down on Thursday. Then yesterday it was, you'd find the fish, you'd see the fish run. You'd pull up, find the fish, see the fish run. It was, we finally figured out where some black drum were sitting, sat way back off of them. I was able to get upwind and we just threw it and let a shrimp sit, and all of a sudden a line would go off every 5 minutes, 10 minutes.
I think I think what happened to us, Mike, is the shrimp boats on the West Coast, that get our shrimp and then they truck it across the state over here to the east side of the state for the bait shops over here. I'm convinced that they got a hold of some ninja shrimp. And they brought a whole load of ninja shrimp over to the East Coast, and all the bait stores had ninja shrimp, because my son said the same thing. He's like, Dad, he goes, I don't know what it is, but they're running away from the shrimp today. And I'm like, it's got to be those ninja shrimp.
Yeah, I mean, Thursday we got 6 reds, 3 of them over 30 inches, and 6 black drum with 3 of them almost 30 inches.
Wow.
I mean, big black,
drum.
huge black drum.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and I mean, basically, if I'd had really good casters, it'd have been 30 fish.
I was going to ask you, are you sight fishing, Mike?
Yeah, sight fishing. I was able, sight fishing schools, but Thursday they were so calm, you're able to pole up to them. And, I had to get a little closer. I'd normally like, just because the distance the guys could get with casting. But even that, I mean, I could get within, 15, 20 feet of the school, slick calm, overcast, and they would just tails would start popping up. You'd see them kind of lift up a little bit and throw, and we would hook up, and had several doubles. But yesterday it was sunny. It was easy to see the fish when you could find a leeward shoreline. And but man, they did not want to eat. I don't know what switched from day to day other than the cloud cover and the wind.
That'll
could
do
be
it.
The barometer. It could be like you said, it could be the wind direction.
I can go to my fishing guide book of excuses why the fish weren't eating. But, it is what it is. We still ended up having a good time, both my charters yesterday. And, we caught fish, but we just had to work a lot harder. And, normally in the wintertime, it's kind of easy fishing, but it's usually kind of more consistent weather too. And man, I haven't seen anything consistent for 2 days in a row, and I don't see it for another week other than 3 days of consistently bad weather.
It is looking pretty ugly this coming week. I'm not going to lie.
It's been the most consistent weather windows we've had this winter than I've seen in a long time.
Yeah, I mean, we've had different wind directions, different highs, crazy lows. We've had rain. I mean, no rain in the forecast, and then it rains on you all morning on Thursday. I think there was like a 12% chance when I went to bed at night, woke up to it raining on Thursday morning.
Yeah.
But, and it's crazy. I mean, there's plenty of fish. I mean, I'm seeing a lot of fish. I think the Mosquito Lagoon, it's not 100% back, but it's probably 60% back to what it used to be. And the guys are like, well, 60%. I go, what the Mosquito Lagoon used to be this time of year was insane. I mean, you'd have 80, 100 fish days on a poling skiff with mediocre casters. It's probably 60% back to that, where you're seeing, just massive schools. They're in all the places they should be. And, that they're doing good. And there's some big, big fish. The redfish closure has allowed some big reds to develop.
That's a really good thing, Mike, because it has been years since we've seen decent sized schools of fish, and to see them being larger now, especially, I've heard you mention fish over 30 inches so many more times in the last 10 or 12 months than what I had been hearing the previous 3 or 4 years.
Oh yeah. And I have yet to see them, but Captain Tony Pantuso said he's found some of the big breeder schools. It used to be there were, a dozen areas in the Mosquito Lagoon 10, 12 years ago where you would find the big breeder schools, and there were 35-inch to 60-inch redfish that would just get in there, and there would be this massive school of 200 fish.
Yeah.
and they were fun to play with. And then they kind of moved to the Intercoastal Waterway, and they moved up to the inlet, and you didn't see them in the lagoon anymore. I'm starting to hear reports of guys seeing fish schools of that size and that type again in the lagoon, which is, that means they're back in the lagoon spawning. That means their fry will develop and kind of get back to what we used to have, where, there was a pretty readily, large population of redfish.
Well, and the other thing that I've been noticing here this past, and we've mentioned this multiple times on the show, is the number of small fish, the number of fish under 15 inches, and that's a twofold. The Banana and Indian River in particular, it's twofold there because, one, there's been a spawn, and two, CCA has been doing some restocking efforts. So between the two of them, we're starting to see good numbers of juvenile fish back in the lagoon again that are surviving and thriving.
Yeah, yes. I mean, we caught, in the morning trip yesterday, most of what we caught was 15 inches smaller trout and as well as redfish. And, it used to be 15 years ago, if you had some kids on the boat, you could go hit a deep hole, and you could sit there and catch 50 redfish that were all like 16 inches or smaller.
Yeah.
And starting to find those spots again where they're starting to move in there, and we're starting to catch those kinds of, not that quite those numbers, but where you can go sit in there and you can just take kids and have a blast catching, juvenile redfish and trout. And those were kind of those bread maker days where it was slow on the big fish, but you could go hit those little deep holes and just wear them out. And kids you'd go through 100 shrimp, but the kids would have a blast.
Yep. Now, Mike, talking about the weather that we've had here this winter, overall cooler, wetter than normal. Definitely windier than what we'd like it to be. I like when we have a couple of days of wind and then we have a couple of days of moderate wind, whether it be an east to southeast, but you get a couple of days of that and even a south, and then all of a sudden you get that next front. Our fronts have been coming quicker, back to back to back, and so it's perpetually out of the north and northwest, and it's strong. It's 15, 20, 25 knots. Are you seeing your water temperature staying at a relatively decent level that, we're not going to have, hopefully not going to have any issues with if we do get some more really cold weather where the water drops to the point where it starts to stun or even potentially kill the fish?
Well, what I'm seeing is a lot of, Thursday morning when I started, the water temperature was about 52 degrees. Mm-hmm. Yesterday evening when I finished my charter, it was at 60, almost 61. Mm-hmm. It's probably going to stay fairly warm today and tomorrow, even with the rain. And the rain actually may help to warm it a little bit because it's supposed to be, I think, 78 today or 76.
Yeah.
So, I'm not seeing any fish kills. I'm not seeing any. I'm seeing a lot of really stunned fish. And looking at the forecast we've got for the next, 5 days or first 4 days of this week coming up, we're going to have some 40s and some highs in the 40s. And that's going to drop it down probably, in the 40-degree range, high 40s for the water temperature, which that gets a little scary.
Yeah, that's not good.
Yep.
If they can survive this week, though, the following week, the last week of the month, it looks like we're going to have a lot of highs in the low to mid 70s. So I think if they can survive this week, I think we're going to be fine. And I mean, there's some big snook out there right now that, really easy to see. They don't want to eat anything, and that's fine. I don't really want to mess with them, to be honest with you. I want them to survive, and I don't want to stress them out.
Don't want to stress them, yeah. Although it's hard not to make a cast. I have to admit,
Absolutely.
It's like, I got to give it a try. I know he's laying there. I know he's black as coal. I know he's just trying to soak up some sunshine, but I'm going to give it a try.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You already know in your mind what's going to happen, but it's like, I still got to do it.
Oh, gosh, yeah. One of the things I have seen is the bait fish are moving. They're sitting in the shallows just like the snook are and the big trout are. They are all, you've got 35-inch trout or snook, and a million bait fish all around them.
Yeah.
And they're all in this, they're all sliding up into those shallows. And then, you know, on the warmer days, like when it warmed up yesterday afternoon, when I finished up my charter, I kind of looked, and a lot of the bigger fish had moved off of that, and they were probably going out and do a little feeding, and then they're going to slide back in once it, you know, that temperature starts dropping again.
Yeah.
It's scary, man. You know, because we've seen our fishery come back, and I've seen several fish kills from the cold over the last 26 years. It's a little, you know, we're kind of on edge, like, are we going to get it? Are we going to get it? But I don't see really, we haven't had brutally cold. We haven't had freezing temperatures, but we've had some, you know, low 40s at night.
It's more consistently cold, but not, like you said, Mike, brutally cold.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly, Glenn.
Yeah, which that's actually probably pretty good for the water. And that's what our typical winters used to be like. For some reason, we got on a run for the last 10 years where you'd get like 4 days of like 30-degree weather at night and highs in the, you know, high 40s, and then it'd go back to 80 degrees.
80, 85,
you know?
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I'm like, am I wearing shorts or long johns today? I haven't had shorts on in 2.5 months.
Yeah.
I
have, but I got sweatpants over them.
Here's a perfect example of not knowing what to wear. So I'm wearing long pants, boots, ankle high, you know, work style boots. I'm wearing an undershirt and a long sleeve overshirt. Glenn, on the other hand, is wearing short sleeves. So I'm wearing two shirts. One of them is long, and he's wearing short sleeves and shorts. So we're as confused as the fish are.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know what I found is once I got in my 50s, I'd rather be sweating a little bit than cold.
Yeah, cold's not fun.
You're 100% right about that.
Yeah. Well, buddy, we're up against our next break. How does somebody get a hold of you and get out there and chase some of those big old drum and redfish and snook around?
Yeah, I've got a couple days available this month, but February's wide open, and I would jump on it and book them before all the race fans and spring breakers and everybody else. You can give me a call at area code 386-295-5991. You can go right to my website, fatfishguide.com. Follow me on Instagram, CAPT, Mike Mann with 2 N's, and follow me on Facebook's Fat Fish Guide Service, and Instagram, CAPT, Mike Mann.
Gotcha, buddy. We appreciate the call in this morning, Mike. Stay safe out there, and hopefully you have a great week on the water.
You too, guys. Be safe, and have a great weekend.
All right,
You
buddy.
too.
Take care. Hey, gang, we're going to be right back. Don't go away. We got a whole lot more show coming at you with Glyn Austin and myself, so we'll be back after this message. Gals, welcome back. We appreciate you tuning in every Saturday right here to Catch a Memory Outdoors. Hopefully you guys and gals are enjoying the show so far. We appreciate you tuning in. And Captain Glyn Austin and myself, Jim Ross, are in the studio for you this morning. Glenn, we were talking about in that first segment about downsizing baits and using smaller baits. And a lot of the product that I use, actually, let me grab one of these out of here. I've been using these they're called crappie dappers. And so they have a little 2-inch, it's a speckled perch bait. It's a speck crappie, kind of a bait. It's 2 inches long, paddle tail, or they have little curly tails, like these little Arkansas shiner colored ones right here. But you throw those around any culvert pipe that's flowing, around any, you know how the mangroves this time of year, they get all those little baby clear glass minnows around them that the snook will pop and the baby tarpon will feed on. And so I've been using these assassins on that little Pro Elite jig head, or you can put it on a small, what they're called their Buddha jig head, which is very similar to the one that you showed me there from Rapala with the little tungsten moon eye jig head. And they have one other one. It's a little bit bigger, but it will suffice in a pinch. Is their 1/16 ounce spring lock. It's got the little corkscrew around it, jig head. And just depending on what I grab, I typically, with these small baits, I typically throw the Pro Elite. But there's a variety that you can choose from. But these little speckled perch crappie baits, either the 2-inch curly tail or the 2-inch crappie dapper, which is a paddle tail. Those have been my go-tos in the wintertime. And that's about all Justin, my son, will throw. He just won't even throw a 4-inch at all. He throws nothing but these 2-inch.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of a 4-inch bait. And the cool thing is Pompano will eat those on the flats too.
Yeah. The only problem with the curly tails is that the puffers
Eat them alone.
will wear you out with these things. If you're in the puffer patch, get out. Because you won't have a tail left.
I try to do that when I get into puffers.
Yeah, just get out of
move
there,
it,
because you can make a cast and then re-rig and make another cast, and you're going to have to re-rig again. So that's the one thing with those. Now, what about pinfish? Have you seen a bunch of pinfish lately?
There's been a bunch of pinfish around the Spoil Islands and along some of the flats.
Okay, well that should be. Those are snook baits.
Yep.
If a snook's going to eat, and he's not chasing little glass minnows, that would be the next logical thing.
One.
What about your mullet in the Sebastian and Vero area?
I haven't seen a ton of mullet. We're seeing some here and there, mostly the bigger mullet, of course.
Right.
But haven't seen a ton lately.
Well, hopefully we'll start to. Mike was saying he's seeing those little baits up around the New Smyrna area. Hopefully we'll start to see some more of those throughout the central and south part of the region.
But what we have seen, which is pretty promising, is some grass coming back on the flats at the inlet.
Really?
Right before the hurricanes in September, early October, there was a lot of grass flats coming back. And some of it was pulling out, floating on the surface, just like the old days.
Gotcha.
And caught quite a few trout in those flats.
And I tell you, the difference between a grass flat and a sand flat when it comes to catching fish,
huge.
It's enormous.
And the cool thing was it brought back the mangrove snapper on that flat like they used to be 15 years ago. We're catching mangrove snapper on jigs all across the flat.
Pilchards in there too?
There was a mix of bait in there, little baits.
Okay.
There was a mix of little baits.
Because to me, the quintessential fishing at Sebastian up until about 2014 or 2015 was you go out onto the flat, you put a little bit of chum out, and the pilchards was just swarm up behind the boat because you're on a grass flat.
And then the snapper would swarm right behind them.
Yeah, the snapper would be swarming right behind the pilchards. And you could sit there and just fish stationary on anchor and catch fish after fish after fish.
And you didn't have to be over a rock pile.
No.
You didn't have to be. And that's kind of what we had in September, October.
Interesting.
Then we got all that rain, so I think it might have hurt some of it.
Once the Sebastian River started flowing, that whole area changed.
So we'll see, after this winter where the water's really clean and nice, we'll see what happens.
Now, what about places like, let's say Ballard Cove, Washburn Cove, Hog Point? Up as you go up the shoreline and get away from the inlet as you're going up towards Melbourne, are you still seeing
clear water? Yeah.
Is there grass in there as well or not?
I haven't seen as much grass up there.
Okay.
No.
So it's more just around the inlet. And how about going to the south?
I really haven't fished south of Wabasso at all.
Mm-hmm.
But there were some areas where there was a little bit of grass coming back, but not like around the inlet.
Gotcha. It just goes to show you, if you can keep some salty water in the area, the grass will grow.
Yeah, salty water without the
too much
herbicides
fresh is just not good for seagrass.
Nope.
They don't call it seagrass for nothing. The first word in that, 2-word sentence there, 2-word explanation of what it is tells you all you need to know.
Yep.
Rainwater runoff grass is not what we have. We have seagrass, and so rainwater runoff grass,
Yep, but
doesn't grow in the lagoon.
I will say our trout bite has been better this winter than I've seen the last couple of years.
Yeah, it's been
from some decent sized fish too, not all just little schoolie fish. Yes, we are getting into the schools of small fish, but we've caught some decent 18, 19 inchers on the paddle tails too, and the jerk bait. So we're seeing little resurgence.
How about flounder? That's like in the Port Canaveral and Ponce Inlet areas, that's the big missing link right now, is where it's cold. We had a decent mullet run this year. where the heck are the flounder at?
We've seen a few. I've seen a few decent ones caught at the inlet. I've seen a few guys posting. We've caught a few around the inlet and the river and on the flats. In the inlet as well, too, jigging. Working the shorelines. We've caught a couple, but not big numbers. It used to be the days where you go back in there and you could throw jigs with a 3/8 or half-ounce jig head and work the bottom and catch 15 or so on jigs in the morning. I haven't done that yet.
Yeah.
But we are seeing a few here and there, and I've seen a couple big ones caught at the inlet on live bait. So I don't go in there and anchor up and wait an hour for a bite on the right fish. The guys that's what they want to target, they'll definitely do that. They'll put the time in and catch a few. But
Yeah.
we haven't seen the numbers of the smaller fish either.
Gotcha. Yeah. That's the one thing. I was talking with a lot of the Ponce Inlet guys. Typically, from about September on, they're really doing well on the flounder, and this year they just really haven't seen many at all.
Well, and we do that inshore as well. I mean, throwing the paddle tails and the jerk baits.
Right.
You're working along the mangroves. We always caught decent numbers of flounder, but for the last 7, 8, 10 years, it's been pretty slow on the flounder.
Yeah, we did the last couple of flounder I actually caught them out of Mike Mann's black drum hole, just throwing paddle tails.
Yep.
But that hole that he likes to fish for the drum, I just had, there was really no drum in it. It was too warm. But I was like, let's stop in here and just see what's along this edge, because sometimes there's snook there, sometimes there's some decent sized trout there. I looked up and down. I didn't see any dolphin, so I said, okay, it's safe to pull in here. I don't see dolphin for as far as I can see in either direction. And of course, as soon as you shut down and you start catching fish, we started catching trout right away.
Show up.
It wasn't long that you can see them on the horizon. Here they come. I don't know how they can hear a trout, half a mile down the lagoon, but somehow they can. And man, they beeline to you.
Yeah.
But right before they got to us, the last time I was up fishing in the Mosquito Lagoon, we had about a 21-inch flounder on the paddle tail, on a little
Very
saltwater
nice.
assassin paddle tail. So, but that's the last flounder that I've caught, and that was in November.
Yeah, we caught a few of them up into early January.
Yeah. Well, I tell you what, let's go ahead and get this break out of the way, and when we come back, we got a whole lot more with Captain Glyn Austin and myself, Jim Ross. So don't go away, guys. Welcome back. We appreciate you tuning in every Saturday right here to Catch a Memory Outdoors. This segment of the show is brought to you by the guys and gals at Petrucci Insurance, and I actually stopped over the other day because it's about time for my my rate quote for my trucks and for my house, and also wanted to get another rate quote for my mom's house as well. So we're in the process of getting all of those checked out with the gang over at Virginia and the gang over there at Petrucci Insurance. But if you haven't done that, if you haven't had a rate quote, a check, I would highly suggest calling Petrucci Insurance, 321-632-1200. That's 632-1200. Give them a call and have them do a rate quote for you, just to make sure that you're properly covered and that you're not paying too much for your insurance. That's what they do every single day. And if they can help you, they will. And if they can't help you, if you got a better deal already, they'll let you know, hey, you've got a good deal, stick with that one. But either way, if you don't check, you don't know. So give Petrucci a call and have them check it out for you. Most of the time, they're going to be able to save you money, and in some cases, actually get you a better policy than the one that you currently have, with better coverages for the right price. So give them a shout over there at Petrucci and see what they can do for you. You know what, Glenn, we need to talk about what is going on at the National Marine Fisheries Service, because NOAA, National Oceanographic Administration, is proposing a complete bottom fishing closure.
That's insane.
Yeah. Yep. Proposed bottom fishing closure for Atlantic waters off North Florida. This is supposed to be to help the red snapper. But as we all know, the most prevalent species on the reef is the red snapper.
and sharks.
Well, maybe if you throw sandbars in there, but by the number, there are more red snapper than any other species on the reef. Period. That's just how it is. All the divers I've talked to verify this continuously. You can't hardly catch a sea bass
I haven't seen sea bass in I can't tell you how long.
in forever. You can get a grouper once in a while, a gag or a red, but they want to help the red snapper fishery. They want to shut down all species, all 55 species of snapper and grouper that are managed by the NOAA, National Marine Fisheries Service. They want to shut down all bottom fishing recreationally, not commercially, recreationally, from the Florida-Georgia line all the way down to Port Canaveral. 38,000 square miles of federal water they want to shut down. Just wondering what you guys and gals think about that, because it looks like it's probably coming. This goal is proposed, according to the National Marine Fisheries Service, to end and prevent overfishing of red snapper because it will help reduce dead discards, and it will also provide additional fishing opportunities. Well, if you're shutting the fishing down, how are you providing additional fishing opportunities?
Yeah. What other opportunities?
So they're double talking right there, and that's a direct quote. This is to end, in quotations, end and prevent overfishing of red snapper while reducing dead discards and providing additional fishing opportunities, end quote. Shutting a fishery down is not adding additional opportunities. So
Now,
I don't get it.
Am I right that I read that's from Canaveral North?
Canaveral North.
So what that's going to do is put the pressure on the whole from Canaveral South and put more pressure on the inshore waters.
Yeah, way more.
Which is already overpressured, the inshore.
Mismanagement at its finest.
Yeah.
There's a super, super easy way to fix this problem. I am not the most educated person in the world. I think we can all agree on that. I'm a fishing guide. I'm not a scientist. I'm not a biologist. I'm not an economist. I'm not, a biologist. I'm none of those things, okay? I don't have a degree. My degree is from the University of Mosquito Lagoon. That's where my degree came from, okay? University of Mosquito Lagoon. So, if we did this, if you and I, as recreational fishermen, rolled out to the 70-foot bar, don't even have to go that far some days, but let's just say we roll out to the 70-foot ridge. Bethel Shoal, even the High Bar, the Pines, Pelican Flats, 8A, Chris Benson, whatever it happens to be. We roll out to that 70 to 90-foot drop-off, and you and I are fishing together, and we drop down. I'm gonna drop down a live pogie. What do you want to drop down? You want a pilchard, a cigar minnow?
Pilchard or a croaker.
Okay, so you're gonna drop down a pilchard or croaker. I'm gonna drop down a pogie. What's gonna happen within about 15 seconds of that thing hitting the bottom?
You'll probably have a red snapper.
It's gonna have red snapper on it. Okay, you pull up a red snapper and I pull up a red snapper, and mine's 6 pounds and yours is 12, and we put those on ice. We just caught our one fish limit for the day, and now we can't catch any other bottom species. Period. No lanes, no mangroves, no groupers. No nothing. We can catch cobia, we can catch amberjack, or we can go catch kingfish, dolphin, wahoo, sailfish. We can go fish for something else. But we put 2 red snapper in the boat. To me, that seems to make a whole lot of sense because we just took all of the pressure off of every other bottom species out there. Now.
And that whole reef.
And the whole reef. Now, you and I go out there under our current regulations, not this closure they're proposing, under our current regulations, where we can't keep a red snapper, with the exception of the federal Atlantic federal season, which has consisted of a day or 2. That's what they call a season anymore. And there's this huge rush out the inlets for everybody to go get their snapper for that 1 or 2 days. But let's throw that out the window. You and I are going to go bottom fishing under the current management plan. And we roll out to that same reef. And I drop down my pogey and you drop down your croaker, and we catch a red snapper. We have to put it back in the water. Okay? Well, one of those 2, according to National Marine Fisheries, is already dead. Even though we released them, even though we put them on a descending device, circle hook, venting tool, whatever it happened to be, they went down, they swam back down. One of those 2 is dead. Okay? So we've got 2 caught fish, 1 dead fish, none in the box. We drop another one down. Same thing happens. You pull up a red snapper, I pull up a red snapper. We put them back in the water. Now we have 2 dead snapper. We've caught 4. We do that 5 more times. Now we have 10 snapper caught.
5
and 5 of them are dead. And we still don't have anything on ice. There's nothing in the fish box. And we haven't caught a snapper, a lane snapper, a mangrove snapper, a mutton snapper, a vermilion snapper, a gag grouper, a red grouper, or any of the other fish in the complex, any of the kitty mitchells, any of those other species, strawberries, any of that stuff. So we've killed 5 fish. We have no fish in the box, and we're continuing to drop down to the bottom and kill more fish in the pursuit of trying to catch something legal that we are allowed to keep under the current management plan. Now, how long do we let this go on? How long does this insanity continue to go on? That's the question I have in my mind. 2 drops, 2 fish caught, 2 fish in the box, all pressure then is released off of the bottom species because we go do something else. We got our fish in the box. We're good. Or we can sit there all day long and have quote unquote dead discards to our heart's content and not have a fish to show for it. This kind of management is just is asinine and ridiculous. I don't get it.
No, it doesn't make any sense at all.
None. I mean, like I said, my IQ may not be what some other guys are. My degrees on my wall may not be what some other guys are. But I don't see how this is a bad management plan. I think it's something that pretty much everybody could get behind.
Well, and then the other part is closing from Canaveral north is going to put more pressure on an overpressure fishery from Sebastian south.
Yeah, Sebastian, Fort Pierce, St. Lucie, all of those inlets instantly become higher pressure areas. So, in which we're going to see more dead discards.
Yeah.
I don't know. To me, it doesn't seem like it's that difficult, but then again, I'm not a rocket scientist.
I'm not a genius by any means.
So that's my 2 cents on that. If you guys and gals have any opinion on that, we'd love to hear it. What's your management plan? Give us a call, 321-632-1000. We would love to hear what your management plan is.
And to me, Jim, a lot of the same thing happens when a guy goes to a reef or goes to the inlet, and we couldn't get anything in the boat because everything got eaten by sharks, but yet they're going to keep feeding them to sharks.
Keep feeding the sharks.
Yeah. Instead of moving, trying to find a place without sharks, they're just going to keep feeding them to sharks. Doesn't make sense to me.
Which adds up into that dead discard, no matter what the species
exactly, no matter what the species
is.
Yeah, that's what
that adds up into that dead discards. But when you look at...
And all it does is teach the predators just, we're going to be fed if we just come here. It's just like, the sharks are getting worse at the inlet. But yet the guys will still go there and feed them.
Yeah. Rewarding bad behavior. Or behavior that's not
helping.
Not healthy for the fishery.
Correct.
Yeah. Yeah. It's I don't know. I don't get it. But then again, I'm just a fishing guide. What do I know? Hey, guys and gals, boating and fishing conditions for today from Ponce Inlet to Sebastian Inlet. We got southwest winds at 10 to 15 knots. We've got seas at 2 to 3 feet with a dominant period of around 5 seconds. The Ponce buoy this morning, 13 miles offshore Ponce Inlet, 61 degrees, 2 feet at 4 seconds. The 4-mile buoy out of Canaveral was 60 degrees, and it was 3 feet at 6 seconds. The 20-mile buoy out of Canaveral was 73-degree water temp, and it was around 4 feet at 6 seconds. And the 6-mile buoy out of Fort Pierce was 4 degrees and 5 feet at 6 seconds. So it looks like the farther south you go, the rougher it is. And so I guess if you're trying to get offshore, go north. Go to Ponce. Go to Ponce Inlet today. Western edge of the Gulf Stream is 44 nautical miles due east of Ponce, 34 due east of Canaveral, and 29 due east of Sebastian. And the current surf temps, Ponce Inlet, 58 chilly degrees. Cocoa Beach, 60 degrees. And Sebastian Inlet, 64 degrees. Tides at Port Canaveral. High tide this morning, 10:35 a.m. Low at 5:01 p.m. And the high again this evening at 11:06 p.m. And then the tides at Sebastian Inlet, 10:41 a.m. this morning is your high. The low is at 5:06 p.m. and the high is at 10:41 p.m. Hey, let me start over. 10:41 a.m. this morning at Sebastian. The low is at 5:06 p.m. and the 11:05 p.m. tonight is going to be your high. Best times to hunt and fish presented by All About Archery down in Melbourne. 3:20 p.m. to 5:20 p.m. is your major for the day, and your minor happens right after the show finishes this morning, 9:43 a.m. to 10:43 a.m. So hopefully you guys and gals will be able to take advantage of some of those and get out there and catch yourselves, or get out there in the woods and do a little hunting, which is, I think I'm going to do a little bit of that myself today. Get out there and see if I can find me a piggy or two wandering around. Got to go reset the feeders, check the game cameras, all that kind of fun stuff. So looking forward to doing that today. Anyway, we're going to take our top of the hour break. We got a whole nother hour of Catch a Memory coming at you with Glyn Austin and myself, Jim Ross, right after these messages, so don't go away. Welcome back. This segment of the show is brought to you by Engel Coolers. Make sure you check out Engel Coolers at engelcoolers.com or your local retailer. They are having a big sidewalk sale. So if you guys and gals aren't doing anything today and you want to run down there, check it out on their website about their cash-only overstocks, scratch and dents, all kinds of fun stuff going on down in Jupiter this morning at the Engel facility, and you can save a pile of money by going down there. But if you don't get a chance to get there, definitely go down there and check out engelcoolers.com, and you can see a lot of the things that they have, little clearance items and things like that on that website as well. We're going to the phone lines. And Orson Tarver's on this morning. Good morning, Orson.
Morning, Jim. How's it going?
Good, buddy. Are you catching fish this morning, or are you trying to stay out of the rain, or what's going on today?
I'm motoring out Houseboat Cut. Actually, the nephew said he wanted to sleep in a little bit, so I was up at 6. I think he got up at 7:30. So I'm finally now kind of underway.
Gotcha.
Getting rolling here. So yeah, but it's beautiful, man. It's like glass, a little fog, cool. It's going to be a nice day, man, even if we don't catch any fish. The water temp's 60 degrees, so it's a little chilly. I guess we'll see how it goes.
You're going to catch them.
Yeah, you should get on some, especially if you got some sand fleas or some fiddler crabs.
Yep. Yeah, actually, we got some live shrimp, and we have some little crabs because he loves to catch the little sheep's head up at the lock.
Gotcha.
Yep.
That's the cool thing about taking the kids. They don't care what they catch. If they get a bend on the rod, they're having a great time. And if you get something to eat, that's a bonus.
Not playing video games. That's the best part, right?
Boy,
Yes,
isn't
sir.
that the truth?
Yeah.
The downfall of modern society.
Yes, sir. So, hey, I always like a good discussion, Jim. So I'll take the other side of this issue just for the sake of having a discussion amongst gentlemen. So,
Okay.
I mean, we just heard Captain Mike Mann talk about the redfish closure. Redfish are coming back big time in the lagoon.
Yep.
I can tell you, and I'm sure Glyn Austin will say the same thing at Sebastian Inlet, since the North Pier was shut down and the pier billies aren't hammering the fish left and right and belly flopping them off the top of the pier. Man, the fishing is freaking white hot up there. Maybe Glyn may not totally agree. He's up there more than me, but to tell you it's been awesome for me. Okay, so fine.
It's been a good bite all winter.
They want to do this offshore, and everyone's saying these closures don't work. But I mean, can you argue that sometimes I think the closures do work. Maybe it doesn't work offshore, but we sure hear a lot about it working inshore.
Yeah.
No, it's been good all winter down there, Orson, and every time we get a cold winter like this, a lot of those fish will gravitate to the inlet because, of course, the water's a little bit warmer and there's more bait flowing through. So, but definitely that closure is helping tremendously. for the guys in boats.
Well, you're not getting beamed in the head with a 4 or 5 ounce pyramid sinker with a 2-drop or 3-drop pompano rig on it that has 2 dead shrimp that are hooked directly in the middle of their bodies.
And you don't have 300 lines going through the water sitting in the school of fish all the
Sitting
time.
in the school of fish, yeah.
So that's definitely helping. That's, I mean,
I don't know, Jim.
Close.
I mean, maybe we'll see what happens, right? I mean, they're going to do it. They're going to do it, right? It's not going to matter what we say, but maybe. Maybe we should take a wait and see attitude to see how this turns out.
That's the thing that is so apparent to me is that it doesn't really, they have all these public forums and public, workshops and things of that nature. And that's just going through the motions. Honestly, I've been to a bunch of those and they're just going through the motions to say that they check that box and they're going to do what they want to do no matter what it is that the public says. And, unfortunately, I think that's part of the reason that we're having this debate and we're having these discussions and we're having these issues about mismanagement is because they just do what they want to do and they don't listen to the empirical evidence or the scientific data for that matter about a particular species. And so, yes, I can see your side of it, Orson, where a 3-month closure takes the pressure off the fish for 3 months out of the year. But then we've still got 9 months out of the year where we're out there killing red snapper. And to me, I shouldn't say killing. I should say killing too many red snapper.
Yeah.
I don't think the problem with the red snapper fishery is the fact that we would be keeping and harvesting them. I think the problem with the red snapper fishery in the National Marine Fisheries, eyes, is that too many of them are dying, and so the only way to keep them from dying is to eliminate fishing for them. But there's an easier way that it's a win-win for everybody, in my mind, if you simply let maximum of one fish per person, and let's just make it say, I would say 6 fish per boat, because you've got 6-man charters out there that have to, if you had 6 guys on the sea leveler crew, the guys that, Bruce Alcock, on incentive, any of these guys that are going out and taking up to 6 anglers, every angler wants to say, hey, I was able to bring a fish home. But even if you have 6 guys on the boat, 6 baits go down, 6 red snapper get reeled up, and then you go do something else for the rest of the day. And you harvested 6 fish. Big deal. You didn't sit there trying to catch a red snapper or a red grouper or a gag grouper and kill 15, 20, 30 red snapper in the process is where I'm going with this. I'm like you, Orson, for that side of the argument. I kind of know that we're just doing this out of fun, but everybody wants to take home a fish. And if you can drop a bait down and pull a fish up and put him on ice and then go about doing something else, then you don't have dead discards. You have dead fish, but they're not discarded. They're properly placed on ice where they belong before they go on the grease, with the breading on them. That's what it's all about.
Yeah, I mean, well, maybe another way to look at this is a better way would be like you said, it's about the dead discards, right? Maybe bottom fishing, instead of having all these little seasons for each little species and a different amount for each one, maybe they just say per boat, you can go bottom fishing. The first 10 fish you catch go in the box, and you're done for the day, So you're not going to have the dead discards. They're going in the box. You get rid of all these ridiculous numbers. Maybe size limits can be changed a little bit. So, hey, if you catch 10 shorties, well, you can still keep them. They're not going to be dead. They're going in your box. You're going to eat them. But hey, maybe you're not going to have the incentive to catch 6. Try to catch the 5 large ones and throw back 20 of the small ones. Because I think we know there's a lot of fishermen out there that, we all do the right thing. But, there's probably a lot out there that they'll go through 20 fish if they have to get that one that they feel is right for the picture. And I think that happens. I think that's what's unfortunate about it. But I don't know. Maybe there's a better way to look at this entire thing of bottom fishing instead of all these little tiny, I mean, you got to have an eye chart, right? You know, you got to have I got in my boat, man. It's an entire sheet of paper of different little tiny regulations for everything. And I don't know, man. Maybe the whole system needs to be redesigned.
I would wholeheartedly agree with that. I think that the complications with all of the sizes, bag limits, season limits, and everything else that we're dealing with, I think that that's a bit much. But you know, that's just honestly that's people trying to justify their jobs. They have to make stuff up just to try and justify their job. I mean, that's what's happening at the national level. To me, I mean, why else would you have all these, you know, constant debates on this, that, and the other? The other side that you were talking about with a 3-month closure and 9 months on, obviously, we've got to decide on the right 3 months now. And so is it during red snapper spawning season or mangrove snapper spawning season or gag grouper spawning season? Because those would be the three. I mean, when you look at the tier, targets. Those are the three targets, basically. So, which they're all just slightly different, but may be able to be encompassed within that same time period.
I mean, sure, better than snapper derby season in the middle of spawning season, and half the fish everyone catches are full of eggs. I mean, like we're just annihilating the breeders, which, I mean, I find that shocking. And actually, you know, I talked to a mutual friend of ours, you know, that's a marine biologist, and he actually really explained the idea, and it's because if it was during the winter time when they don't spawn, the weather, it would be very hard to have a mini season, and in different areas the weather's bad, so they kind of like pick the period of time where they think everyone up and down the East Coast will have decent weather to go fishing. But that happens to be when the fish are spawning. So it's like, that doesn't make sense either. But, you know, I don't know, the whole snapper mini season in the middle of summer, I mean, hey, I do it. I mean, I like it. I mean, but it is during the wrong time. I think we all agree on that.
Absolutely.
So on your mini season excursion this last year, okay, how many guys did you have on your boat?
So it was me, Davo, and one other guy, and we tried something different, and it failed miserably. I went out before, you know, I got to go through the lock. So I went through the lock at 9 p.m. the day before. I picked them all up at the ramp, and there was a storm offshore, and we drove basically right in it, and we got literally the crap kicked out of us. And we came back in. So I say that was not one of my better seasons, but in the past, I know what you're asking. Past seasons, yeah, I mean, if I got enough life jackets on this boat, man, and I got room for people to sit, I'm loading this boat up. I'm loading up everyone. And yeah, if my mom would get on this boat, I mean, she would be on here too. And I totally get it. It's not the right way to go about it. But I mean, man, it does suck that there's just that little tiny season, and it does kind of cause you to behave in ways that are probably not good for the fishery, right? And everyone kind of does the same.
But we got
the crap kicked out of us.
Well, that was what I wanted to get to. Was it changes the National Marine Fisheries Service current policies on red snapper in the Atlantic Ocean are changing angler behavior.
Yep.
Because we are endangering ourselves, as you mentioned, driving through the ocean, through a thunderstorm in the middle of the night is not the safest or smartest thing to do. But it's like, I don't want to be out here when there's 9 billion other boats all trying to fish the same piece of reef that I'm trying to fish. I'd like to get out there beforehand, if possible, and that was the goal there. But once again, endangering yourself because of their policies. And then the secondary side of that is, okay, we can have one red snapper for every person on the boat, unlimited. And I've seen 13 and 14 people on some of these 35 and 40 foot, center consoles, where they take everybody in their neighborhood out on the boat that day, so that they can come back with 13 or 14 red snapper. Once again, that's you're changing the typical behavior that an angler would exhibit to try to appease them in some way by giving them this little mini season on red snapper. But once again, how safe is 14 people on one boat?
Yeah.
I mean, if it's the Disney cruise ship, I get it. But
I know people that put 8 or 10 on a 23-foot center console, which is way overloaded.
I've seen pontoon boats with 12 guys on them out on the reef.
Yeah.
Jim,
I'm
I had
like,
a guy one time,
come on.
I was 20 miles out. The guy waves at me. I come over, and he's like, hey, my boat broke down. My VHF doesn't work. I don't have cell phone coverage. Could you call Towboat USA for me? And I'm like, you got to be kidding me. This guy doesn't have a VHF radio 20 miles offshore. I'm like, oh, man. All right. Get on the radio. You know?
Yeah. And so I would like to see policies that make more sense and don't endanger anglers or change angler behavior. Like I say, a simple stop on the reef, drop a couple of baits down, everybody on the boat gets to keep one, and away we go and we do something else. No culling, no nothing. Like you say, forget the size limit. Most of the fish we're catching are of legal size anyway. That's not really the issue. But it would take so much pressure off of the fishery. Well, Orson, I appreciate you calling in and participating with us this morning. And
Yes, sir.
hopefully you guys will catch a bunch of fish out there today.
I tell you what, I just passed the no wake zone, so I'm going to get on it, man, and haul. I'm going to go as fast as possible to get 2 miles down the river because that's what we do as fishermen.
Burn all the fuel out of the prop shaft.
Have a good day out there, Orson.
This Verado's ready to go, my friend. I can hear the turbo supercharger whining just about now. So
The ponies are
here.
snorting, ready to run, huh?
Oh, yes, sir.
Let it happen, bud.
All
Let
right,
it
guys.
happen.
Have a good day, guys.
Take care.
Take care, Glenn. I'll catch up with you the next time I'm in Sebastian.
Yes, sir.
Bye-bye now. Hey, gang, we're going to take our next break. 321-632-1000 is our call-in line. We'd love to hear from you. Give us a shout. Welcome back. We appreciate you tuning in every Saturday right here to Catch a Memory Outdoors. Wanted to let you guys and gals know that this is we're gonna talk about a little Starbright cleaning solutions segment. This is the one of the segments of the show where I like to ask the guest of the show what product that Starbright makes is it that they can't live without, because it seems like everybody who's on the show uses the Starbright products. And Glenn, if I can ask you that, what of all the products that you've used from them, what's the one that you just can't live without?
I like the non-skid deck cleaner.
Yep.
You know, the non-skid deck cleaner works very well. And the hole cleaner. If I get, like my live well, you know how it is. You'll keep baits for weeks at a time because you can keep them overnight.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden your live well's in pretty rough shape and can't get anything to clean it. So you empty it out, use that hole cleaner in there, and let it sit for a little while. Scrub it, let it sit. Comes out like it was brand new.
Like brand new.
I mean,
and I'm talking off the assembly line.
And I'm talking after a summer's worth of use. I mean,
Yeah.
it'll be nasty. So those two products I like quite a bit. I know you're not supposed to use it, on wax surfaces, blah, 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 but inside the live well, as long as you clean it well, and then before I use it again, I'll go out and run a bunch of water through it before I put any live baits back in there. But it comes out looking like brand new. And the non-skid deck cleaner just does a good job cleaning, but not taking wax off that you put on there too.
It gets the embedded dirt out really well. It's a fantastic product for that. So hopefully you guys and gals will get out there, try some of these products. Captain Glyn is talking about and endorsing the non-skid deck cleaner in particular, and the hull cleaner. But every product that you find from Starbright,
Salt off for flushing the engine and rinsing your trailer.
fantastic stuff. I use it all. It's amazing how much better my boat looks than what my old boats used to look like now that I'm using the Starbright products. Yep. The longevity, the cleanliness, the ease of cleanup, everything about Starbright is a win for me. So hopefully you guys and gals will get a chance to check it out too. I want to go check out the Facebook feed here. There's a lot of guys on here this morning. I want to say good morning. John Sorensen's on with us this morning. Liz Barker's watching. Paul, our producer, was checking to make sure that the feed was working. Bo Bergeron's out there. He says good morning. William Stratton's on. David Mills, Butch McCoy, Orson was on. He just had him on the phone. David, let's see. Sonny Richards is on. Mike Delatorre, Sean Scribner Sr. I saw him at the gas pumps not too long ago. Good to see him. Doug Oliver and Brad Spalding is on this morning. And Robin Chatterley Folsom is on with us. So appreciate David Giovannini and quite a few more. So we appreciate you guys and gals. Jesse Dance, another one. Chris Kaminsky, Carl Harmoning, a lot of friends of the show out there watching this morning. And hopefully you guys and gals are enjoying it. Captain Glyn and I are trying to do our best to get you guys and gals out there and catching more fish. You know, Glyn, we were talking at the beginning of the show, small baits, small presentations, oftentimes lead to big fish. But you can't just buy any old product. There's specific products that we have worked our way through, the stuff that won't hold up, doesn't last, whatever it happens to be, doesn't catch, into the products that have. And you were saying that with this new Rapala product, especially with the elasticity in the baits, you're having pretty good luck on a variety of species around that Sebastian Inlet area.
Yeah, I'm always wary about trying new stuff because we get set in our ways. We get tried and true stuff that we've been using for years, and you see something new from a company like Rapala or Assassin or any other major company, and you got to give it a shot and see what it does for you. It's not going to completely change everything you use,
Right.
But you want to give it a shot and see how it works, and I've been pretty pleasantly surprised, not surprised, but pretty happy with how these new baits are working with them. I get some customers that like to bring their own tackle with them and their own baits, and I've got one guy in general that will see a new bait online. Hey, I should try this. And what do you think of this? And how do you think it's going to work? And what do you think? I mean, they're getting rave reviews. I'm like, if you want to try it. But if you've got stuff that's tried and true from certain companies, now you're branching out to 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 companies trying all their stuff, and all it's going to do is confuse you.
It can.
And my exact words to this gentleman, and I mean, I give him kudos because he wants to try new things. He's always reaching out, asking questions, but sometimes he's overanalyzing things, and that's some people's mentality. Don't overanalyze. If you've got stuff that works, use it. If something's not happening, try 1 or 2 things different, but don't throw the whole tackle box at it.
So let's play devil's advocate here.
Yep.
Okay, you can't have the assortment that you have now. You're fishing for all of the species that you're fishing for, but you can only choose one lure. What is Glyn's one lure to catch snook, trout, redfish, tarpon, flounder, cobia? What is Glyn's one lure gonna be?
Probably that mirror lure Little John.
Okay.
I'm gonna go right to it.
So the Marilure Little John, and
I've caught everything from 50-pound kingfish to 120-pound tarpon to 43-inch snook to big trout, redfish, pompano, bonefish, permit. I've caught 30-pound permit on that bait. It's a comfort bait for me. And I guess it mimics a shrimp. That's the only thing I can see, but that's where I'm gonna go.
Okay. So if I've got to choose, that's the hard part.
And I'm not sponsored by that company. I buy them
them,
retail.
yeah.
It's just, my buddy worked with him and designed the bait and turned me on to it. And it's just something I've caught fish in the Keys and, in Florida and the Carolinas and Texas.
So I am going to go with a white bucktail jig.
That was my next. My next
that was your number 2 bait.
Yeah.
I think when you're right, we can overcomplicate things to the nth degree, exponentially, as fishermen, and sometimes just getting back to the basics, and a white or even a black bucktail jig will catch most of the fish most of the year. And so if there was one bait that I had to go to, I think that would be it. Now, my second bait I would go with the Saltwater Assassin Sea Shad. That would be my second bait. And if I could have 5 and instead of 15,000, if I could have 5, but you're right. We have, because we go out and we test these things, and we know that in a certain scenario, this lure has worked in the past. This lure has not really worked too good. And so when you find that new bait and you're like, oh, this is kind of bait that looks very interesting, and I want to go try this. Sometimes it's a hit, and sometimes it's not. It's not. Sometimes your expectations are a little higher for a lure or a bait than what you anticipate it to be, and so you're kind of disappointed with the results that you get from it. So I've had both, and I'm sure you've had both.
I've had both
as
for
well.
sure. I've had both for sure, and I get, going back to the size of the bait, we get a lot of these younger kids that'll come on the boat and bring on their own tackle. And I've got these NLBNs, they're 5 inches long. I really had good luck with them, and then his dad or his friends fishing a 3-inch paddle tail or Little John,
or
or
Little
jerk
John
bait or whatever, and he's
yeah.
out fishing his buddy like 5 to 1, and he's like, do you want to switch to a smaller bait? Oh no, I do good with these. So I don't like to tell people what works, what doesn't work, because if you have a comfort zone, that's what you need to use.
Or if you have a specific species, if you're targeting, like as an example, if you're throwing a 5-inch soft plastic, like you were just mentioning, you're targeting big fish.
Yeah.
You're not targeting just anything that happens to swim by. The little trout, the little snook, the little redfish, whatever. You're targeting something large. And so if that's what you want to do, then you do need to specifically use something that is going to entice that size fish to eat. But most of the time, we just want to catch fish.
Well, and us, with our job, we can't just go out and certain times of the year, we're going to go target large fish. That's all we're going to catch.
Yeah.
But when you're on an average trip, you've got to gear for all situations. That's
And a lot of times that includes smaller baits.
That includes smaller baits and smaller fish.
Yep.
So if you're and don't think that small baits don't catch big fish, because we all know they do.
We know they do. Well, we're going to take our bottom of the hour break. When we come back, we got a whole lot more, so don't go away. Glyn Austin and myself will be right back. Welcome back. If you're looking for any kind of stickers, like we got our new Catch a Memory Outdoor Oval stickers that we're giving out, any kind of sticker that you need, bumper sticker, anything like that, any kind of vinyl that you need done, check out the guys at Direct Graphics, because they can make it happen for you. They can design it. They can print it. They can even install it if you're trying to get like a boat wrap or a truck wrap, or a trailer wrap. You got a utility trailer that's for your business or something, and you need some signage on the side of it. Give Direct Graphics a call. It's really easy to get a hold of them. 321-631-1001, and Direct Graphics right there on US 1 in Cocoa. Give them a shout. We're going to go to the phone lines. We got the Mogan Man and the Coastal Sportsman calling in this morning. Are you guys on the water, or are you sitting at home?
We are sitting in a old barnacle covered mangrove tree.
I know you're not trying to fish this morning. You must be chasing those ducks around. So how's it going for you?
It's not going too bad. We're hunting Banana River right now. We're hunting south into Horty Point, and had a couple fly by, but nothing coming into the deeks. These birds have been shot at plenty. They're not even coming anything near sticking out of the water.
Gotcha. Are you?
We had some good hunts this past week, though.
Did you? Yeah.
Yeah, we did 3 saltwater hunts and ended up with 12 big stud bluebills. We're just shooting the drakes now at this point in time of the year.
Just letting the hens fly by and just shooting. The drakes are all plumed out. They look really pretty.
Oh, yeah. Blair shot one last week. Had the purple in his head and everything.
Nice.
Purple and the green.
Now, Jeff, earlier in the season, you were primarily focusing on the freshwater birds. Now, you and Blair and the rest of the guys have kind of switched over to some of the saltwater stuff. What other species, other than the bluebills, are you guys shooting out on the Banana and Indian Rivers right now?
You got your mottle ducks, and since 2010, we see the freeze up north and down here. We're seeing a lot more scoters, a lot of black surf scoters.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen several flocks of old squaw flying around.
Long-tailed duck.
Sorry, politically incorrect. But it just all depends. Like the mosquito impoundments up and down the intercoastal, when they've got water in them, the birds will hold in there and they'll roost in there at night. Most of them are dry just because no rain.
Right.
and they opened up most of them with culvert pipes just to flow freely back and forth. So that kind of changed the habitat with those. But I cut my teeth hunting divers on Lake Erie growing up, so
Okay.
I love it out here.
So it's something familiar to you. Now, you were saying that there's a bird called an old squaw that has been politically renamed
to
what did Blair say? A long-tailed duck?
Yeah.
And what do they look like?
Saltwater pintail.
Yeah, they're a white bird with a short neck and a short head, but a big long sprig on them, about twice the size of a pintail.
Really?
Oh.
Well, I'll
I
have to
shot
look for
one
those.
5 years ago, and I wish I would have got it mounted, but I would have had to put it in the garage or out in the work shed. But
Are they pretty
it
big?
wasn't,
Are they a big bird?
no, they're a smaller bird. They're smaller than the divers. I don't know what you compare them to.
A little bigger than a bufflehead.
Yeah, a little bigger than a bufflehead, not as big as a ringer.
Gotcha. Okay.
But when you see them on the water, you know exactly what they are because they just show a lot of white, and they're normally a foot off the water, just enough to glide and flap their wings.
Interesting.
Yeah, beautiful bird if you look them up.
Now, what about teal? Are you getting any teal in the saltwater areas?
Not like we used to.
Uh-huh.
Again, a lot of these ponds have been converted over to brackish water, and the teal they like the fresh.
Gotcha. Okay. So they're like the ringers. They like the fresh water better than the salt.
Exactly.
Okay.
Now we got a hunt coming up Sunday, or not Sunday, Wednesday.
Wednesday. Yeah, I'm gonna have to bring my foul weather gear in my parka. It looks like it's gonna be cold and rainy.
That is.
Well, I got to call into the refuge biologist to find out what they've been shooting up there. So if it's just bluebill, we may have another plan.
We may turn that back in and sleep in that day.
Not sleep in, just not put in so much work as having to go up to the refuge.
Yeah, if
Gotcha.
you go to the refuge, you got to get, especially where you got to go up there, get up at 2:00 in the morning to get there by, to get out to your spot by 5.
Yeah. It's like hunting Broadmoor.
Yeah, somewhere down here, you get to the ramp at 5 and have your decoys out, set up, sun's up, it's shooting time.
Sounds like a plan.
Now, I have talked to some of the guys hunting South Florida and even Goodwin, and the biologists think there's a lot of teal on the marsh again. So, one of two things. The rest of them came down from up north, or the reverse migration has started.
Gotcha.
That's probably what's going on because they showed up in the Everglades last week, and then we started seeing them up here. A lot of greenheads or green-winged teal.
Okay. That's actually the first bird that I shot the first time that you guys took me hunting, if I remember correctly. My first bird was a hen green wing.
I've never seen you so excited.
I was just happy I hit something.
Hold on. Nope.
Got one circling.
We had some birds working us.
Yeah.
Yeah, just so everybody knows, there's only after today, there's only 7 days left. Things close out next Sunday.
And
then there's a youth hunt the following weekend, and then the veterans hunt.
Gotcha. So if you're going to get out there and shoot some ducks, you better get out there pretty soon, huh?
Yep, exactly.
All right,
now,
buddy.
The weather got today wrong. I don't know if you saw the weather forecast, but it was supposed to be 10 to 15 out of the southwest, and winds blowing about 5 out of the north, and we've been covered up in sea fog all morning.
Interesting. Yeah. They're not hitting the weather as good as they could this year. That's for sure.
Except for the cold temps.
Yeah, they got the cold right. Yeah. Well, Bud, we'll let you get back to it. We appreciate the call in this morning, and hopefully you and the Mogan man will get a couple more birds down before time to pick up the decoys.
We hope to.
Alrighty, guys. You guys
Good
take
luck,
care.
guys.
See you guys. See you guys.
Thanks. That's interesting. Southwest at 10 to 15 is what they're calling for, and it might get to that eventually today, but
Probably out of the north, though.
but north at 5 and sea fog. I mean,
Insane.
it's almost. I mean, it's not 180 degrees off, but it's 160 degrees.
We've had a few days on the water where it was 180 off.
Yeah.
You're out one day and it's north at 10 to 15, and the next day is supposed to be north still, and you get out there and it's south at 15 to 20.
Yeah. Crazy stuff. Well, you know what? Let's go ahead and get our last break out of the way, and when we come back, we'll have the wrap up here with Catch a Memory Outdoors and Glyn Austin and myself, Jim Ross. So don't go away. Welcome back. This segment of the show is brought to you by Strike Zone down in Melbourne. And I tell you what, if you missed all of the holiday sales at Strike Zone, that's too bad, because there was some really good ones. But never fear, Strike Zone is constantly getting in new gear, and you guys and gals can go down there, check them out, pick up all the latest and greatest. And if you got one of those coveted Strike Zone gift cards for Christmas, now's the time to get out there and use it and get yourself some goodies to go in your tackle box. Some of the stuff that we talked about this morning here, Glenn. You can find that stuff right
I got to get in there and use my gift card.
Yeah, I got 2 gift cards, so I'm double fortunate. I got to get down there and use them myself. I'm looking forward to that. I always enjoy going down and seeing the gang at Strike Zone and picking up all the latest and greatest when I'm down there. So stop in down in Melbourne at Strike Zone and check them out. Tell them you heard about it right here on Catch a Memory Outdoors. You know what? We've got on the February 8th, the 29th annual Port Canaveral Kids Fishing Clinic, sponsored by the Florida Sport Fishing Association, and you can get your kid involved. Ages 5 to 15 are allowed to register. Go to fsfaclub.org, and then you can click on the link to the Kids Fishing Clinic. But it was rescheduled from October 19th because of one of the hurricanes passing by. Going to have it on February the 8th right out there at Port Canaveral. Looks to be a big time. You can also contact Mike Krin at fsfavp@gmail.com. That's fsfavp@gmail.com. And, of course, kids learn how to tie knots, best fishing practices. Every kid pretty much gets a rod and reel. There's a lot of tackle that goes along out there as well. So just a great time. Good time to get the kids out.
Mike does a good job with the kids, man.
Oh, he does.
As the rest of the group does.
Yep. He does that for sure.
It's all about keeping that next generation going. Getting them involved, getting them started, getting away from video games like Gordon said earlier.
Yeah. It's surprising to me, and I know you see it too, Glenn. Kids, not all kids, but some kids will come out on the boat and they'll want to be on their phone the whole time they're out there. They're just looking at a screen, and I'm thinking to myself, you got all this going on around you. You got all this wildlife, the flora, the fauna, the fishing, the dolphins, the birds, everything that you can see out here, and you got your nose plastered in a phone screen.
Yep.
You could do that at home.
Well,
you could do that in the car ride to and from. Enjoy what there is when you're out here. Most kids get it, but there's a few that they're like addicted to the phone. They can't get their nose out of it.
I've taken a couple of groups of kids out over the Christmas break when they were off a couple of days, and they actually were pretty good putting the phone away, and the bite was pretty decent, so that helps.
I had one young boy, little 7-year-old boy, that his grandfather brought out. I am telling you what, man, this kid he was like the next, major league fishing superstar. This kid was on it.
On fire.
He could cast. He was, we had to tone the hook set down. He was a bass fisherman from Texas.
Yes.
So we had to kind of, we had to dial that back a little bit.
Yep.
Especially when we were using the smaller jigs and the circle hooks. And I told him, I was like, look, the fish aren't eating aggressively right now. So sometimes they'll just come up and just grab the back end of the soft plastic or the shrimp.
Yep.
So give them just a second, count to about 3, because they'll hit it and grab it, and then they'll open their mouth and suck it in the rest of the way.
Same thing going on.
And he missed his first 15 or 16 fish. Once I said, as soon as he felt it, I said, when you feel it, just stop, count to 3, and then slowly come up and come tight on the fish. Boom. And he was like, oh, and you could just see him light up. Eyes got big, smile got bigger, and he was hooked up into a nice sheephead. And it was like, that's what it's all about, getting the kids out there and watching them just light up. And so he got to the point where he was counting. He'd feel the thump, because we were using shrimp primarily. Thump, and he'd go 1, 2, 3, and he'd just start turning the handle and lifting. Enjoy the bend, boys. Enjoy the bend. That's what it's all about.
It's so hard.
Get that bend in that rod, that stretch of that string.
Yeah, and it's so hard for kids especially to do that,
Yeah.
because they just want that instant gratification.
But he was good. I enjoyed having him on the boat so much. It's good to see that there's still a few kids out there like that, you know.
I took my grandson bass fishing with Mike Arnoldy
Oh
over
yeah,
Christmas
yeah.
break, and had to get used to setting the hook the right way again, because I use circle hooks on live bait and stuff,
Right.
and with the saltwater stuff you don't have to set it like bass fishing, and it was just such a different atmosphere. And once you got in rhythm, it was one after another. It was a good
Then you
time.
have to dial it back on your next saltwater trip.
Well, I don't fish usually on my saltwater trip, so it doesn't matter.
It's so much fun. So anyway, kids fishing clinic coming up on the 8th. Get the kids out there, have some fun with them. Glenn, we are looking at potentially having a decent cobia season this spring.
It's cold, yeah.
The water temperatures, when you look at those water temperatures out there, and you've got 60s all the way up and down the coast, even at the 20-mile buoy, the temperatures are cooler than they typically are for this time of the year. I'm excited that if we can keep it cool through about the 2nd or 3rd week of February, that right around that 1st week of March, I think we're going to start seeing some pretty darn good cobia action. And I know that, they stay on the reefs a lot of the winter. But that inshore, that inshore push where they come in and start migrating inside of 50 feet of water, that's something that I'm looking forward to, because I think the conditions are actually setting up right for that this year.
I would agree with you. Where they get on the tide lines and feed, the manta rays get on the tide lines and feed on the tide lines with the cobia and stuff. I think you're right. We haven't had any real consistently cool winters like we have now.
Right.
Since probably 2010.
Yeah, it's been a while.
2010, 2011, somewhere in that time frame. Or 2010 and
Both of those years
2012,
actually
yeah.
were really cold.
Yeah, but after that, since then, we haven't had any consistently cooler temps. Now, I don't think we're having it as cold as we did then, but it's consistently cooler, and the water temps are consistently cooler than
Well, last year, the water temperature at Canaveral, or at the 4-mile buoy, never dropped below 64 degrees.
Yep.
This year, it's been over a week now that it's been below 64, and it's at around 60.
Yeah.
To me, that bodes well. That bodes very well. It pushes, that colder temperature pushes all of those fish, continues pushing them south into their preferred temperature range, which when you look at the Fort Pierce buoy, the 6-mile buoy at Fort Pierce, was 64 degrees this morning. So that tells me that buoy's 6 miles off of the beach. That water temperature is 64 degrees. So everything north of there, it's like a wall. It's like a push broom.
Yep.
You start pushing that broom across the floor, and you start collecting that dirt. That cold temperature is that same kind of a push, and it pushes all of those fish continuously farther to the south. Well, when the water turns back around and starts to warm back up, they all come back through. Where especially last year, that most of the year the cobia stayed from Ponce all the way up to Jacksonville. They never got to us, so we never got our spring cobia migration.
Yeah, it's definitely, we're in a better scenario this year.
I think
sure.
so.
And the other thing that's done, something you like to do, is throw those poppers at those sharks too. So along with the cobia, you've got other opportunities out there. If you can't find cobia, you always have those opportunities.
That's something that some of the new listeners may not know about. Let's talk about that real quick, because we've got about 4 minutes. So most guys, when they're shark fishing, it's a chunk or a live bait or a dead bait, whatever it is. It's on a steel leader, and it's on a weight, and it's on the bottom, and it's kind of sitting there waiting for the shark to come and sniff it out and find it. But you and I, we don't typically do things the way that other guys like to do it. And so, we found other methods.
Yeah, we get that Rappel Extreme popper. You can use both sizes. The 5-inch or the 7-inch, and take all the trebles off it, put one single on the back, and just pop it and watch those black tips and spinners just annihilate it. We were doing it New Year's Day, and it was a blast just watching those sharks just come up. You have 2, 3, 4 of them sometimes. Just, I won't say fighting over it, but they're following it.
It's so cool to watch them follow, because they'll get right behind it, and you're like, oh, there they are, and then you kind of, keep working it, and they get a little more excited, and then you'll see one in the group that all of a sudden you can tell he's lit. He commits to it and explodes on that thing.
Yep, and I mean they remind me of my dog, my Rottweilers, because my Rottweilers, when they play with the other dog or play with their friend, other dogs in the neighborhood, my female especially, she'll just crouch down real low and she'll just stalk the other dog. And then just pounce on them. Yeah. And those sharks do the same thing. They just sit there behind that lure, and they're just watching, and they just explode and annihilate it. It's pretty insane. And sometimes you never even get a hook in them. They'll run and jump and pull it out, and
just miss the lure altogether.
Or miss it altogether, knock it out of the water.
But that explosion is, that's 90% of it, honestly. Yep. The hookup and the fight is the other 10.
Yep.
But the strike is almost the whole thing.
Absolutely, and they're just so fast like a tarpon and jump like a tarpon. It's just a lot of fun.
So, big poppers, single hooks on the back, big heavy-duty single hook on the back.
Yep.
Now, do you run a little wire out the front of yours?
I'll run, 12 to 18 inches of wire at the most, and like 120-pound mono.
Mm-hmm.
And
I've started using some of that titanium wire.
Tieable.
And I'm double crimping it.
Okay, double crimping it.
Yeah, you have to go through. It's like... tedious, but it's been holding up pretty good.
A hay wire is quick and simple, and that's just what I do.
Yeah. And it's been around a long time. It's been working a long time.
Some of them end up ugly, but they still work. You get in a rush, you're trying to tie it real quick.
Yeah, I love that topwater shark action, and you're right. When you get on that bite, it's pretty cool. So. We've got a beach renourishment project going on at Canaveral right now.
Got one in Vero too.
One in Vero too. Are they pumping or are they trucking?
Trucking.
So unfortunately, they're trucking down to the south. Of the two, at least at Canaveral, they're pumping this year, and so they're taking sand and just shifting it from one place to another. They're not taking dirt and dumping it where sand belongs. So hopefully, we'll see a better spring and summer this year from basically Port Canaveral southward to Satellite Beach or so. Got my fingers crossed.
How far down are they doing it?
Right now, they're just doing it right there pretty close. I haven't really been to the beach to see. I've just seen the pipes that are around the port itself, but they're pulling everything off that north side of the port and transferring it down south. I don't know how far south. I need to go check that out because I haven't gone down the beach.
Yep.
Well, buddy, we have burned up 2 hours this Saturday morning. Hopefully the listeners out there have enjoyed every bit of this show. We've thrown some good tips out there for you, so hopefully you guys and gals have enjoyed it. Captain Glyn Austin, thank you so much for coming in. How does somebody get a hold of you?
You can reach me at goingcoastalcharters.com or my phone number, 321-863-8085.
Absolutely the best there is in Sebastian Inlet. You guys and gals need to give Glyn a call. Hey, and until next week, do exactly what we're going to do. Get out there and catch yourselves a memory.